The luxury restaurant buzzed with quiet conversations and the clinking of silverware against porcelain plates. A grand chandelier hung overhead, casting a golden glow over the elite guests. Among them sat a teenage boy, dressed in a designer hoodie and sneakers that cost more than the monthly salary of most workers there. His father, a powerful businessman, scrolled through his phone, barely acknowledging his son's presence. A waiter, a frail man in his late 40s, approached their table with a warm but tired smile. He carefully placed the boy's plate in front of him, a perfectly cooked steak with truffle mash. But the kid barely glanced at it before wrinkling his nose in disgust. "This looks disgusting," he scoffed, pushing the plate away. "I assure you, sir, it's made with the finest ingredients," the waiter said politely. The kid smirked, grabbed a handful of mashed potatoes, and without warning, splat, hurled them straight at the waiter's chest. Gasps echoed around the room as the creamy white mess dripped down the poor man's uniform. A cold silence took over the restaurant. The father barely looked up, only muttering, "Just bring him something else." The waiter, humiliated but used to such treatment, forced a nod and turned to leave. But before he could step away, a firm yet calm voice cut through the tension. "Hey!" The waiter paused. Keanu Reeves sat at the next table, casually dressed in a dark blazer and jeans, but his presence alone commanded the room. His eyes, sharp and observant, locked onto the teenage boy. The kid raised an eyebrow, amused. "What?" Keanu leaned forward slightly, his voice steady, but carrying a weight that made everyone listen. "You think throwing food at people makes you powerful?" The boy laughed, rolling his eyes. "Relax, old man. It's just mashed potatoes." Keanu didn't blink. "And you think respect is optional?" The kid shrugged. "Who cares? He's just a waiter." A muscle twitched in Keanu's jaw. He slowly got up, reaching into his pocket and pulling out his black credit card. He handed it to the manager. "I'll pay for everyone's meal tonight." Murmurs spread through the restaurant, people exchanging curious glances. The teenage boy grinned. "Cool, thanks for my steak." Keanu smirked, shaking his head. "No, not yours." The kid's smile faded. "Huh?" Keanu turned to the waiter, still standing there with mashed potatoes dripping down his uniform. "Take the night off. Eat whatever you want. And while you're at it, bring meals to all the kitchen staff. They deserve it more than some spoiled kid who doesn't know the value of hard work." The boy's face turned red, while his father finally looked up, sensing the shift in the room. The energy had changed. The audience was no longer entertained by a rich kid's arrogance. But this was just the beginning. The teenage boy's face twisted in disbelief. "You can't do that! I'm paying for my own food!" Keanu gave him a calm but piercing look. "Are you? Or is it your dad's money?" A few people chuckled under their breath. The boy's expression darkened. His father finally put his phone down, annoyed. "Look, Mr. Reeves, I respect your work, but let's not make a big deal out of this. He's just a kid." Keanu's gaze didn't waver. A kid who just humiliated a man trying to do his job. "You don't think that's a big deal?" The businessman exhaled, clearly not used to being challenged. "Fine, we'll leave. Come on, Jason." But the kid, humiliated in front of an audience, wasn't ready to back down. "Number, you think you're some kind of hero? Just because you've played one in movies?" He scoffed, crossing his arms. "Big deal. You're just another rich guy pretending to care." Keanu tilted his head, intrigued. "You think money is the only thing that matters?" Jason leaned back in his chair. "It literally is. Look at this place." He gestured around the high-end restaurant. "You think these waiters work here because they want to? Number, they do it because they have to. Because they weren't smart enough to make real money." A deep silence followed his words. Even his father looked slightly uncomfortable. The waiter, still standing nearby, lowered his gaze, as if used to such comments. Keanu exhaled softly, nodding. "You're right about one thing." Jason smirked. "See? Even you. But Keanu wasn't finished. They work here because they have to, just like I did. The boy's smirk faded. What? Keanu pulled out a chair and sat back down, his voice quieter but sharper. Before I became Keanu Reeves, I was scrubbing floors, washing dishes, sleeping on a friend's couch because I couldn't afford rent. I wasn't born with money, Jason. I earned it. His eyes locked onto the boy's, unwavering. And let me tell you something. Having money doesn't make you smart. It doesn't make you better. It just makes you lucky. The kid shifted uncomfortably, but Keanu continued. You know what really matters? What you do with that luck. Whether you use it to lift people up or push them down. The restaurant was dead silent. Jason's father cleared his throat, ready to defuse the situation. All right, we get it. Let's just go. But Keanu wasn't looking at him. He was still looking at Jason. And for the first time, the boy didn't have a cocky response. Instead, his fingers tapped against the table, his mind racing. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. But Keanu wasn't done teaching his lesson yet. Jason's hands clenched into fists under the table. He could feel the weight of the room pressing down on him. The silent judgment from people who, just moments ago, weren't paying him any attention. His father, sensing his son's embarrassment, leaned forward. That's enough, he said, his voice controlled but firm. We don't need a lecture. We'll handle our own family matters. Keanu leaned back in his chair, unfazed. That's the problem. You haven't been handling it at all. The father's jaw tightened. Excuse me? Keanu gestured towards Jason without breaking eye contact with the businessman. You let him treat people like they're beneath him. You make excuses for it. And guess what? The world won't. Jason's face burned. Why do you even care? You don't know me. Keanu let out a quiet chuckle. You're right. I don't. He glanced at the waiter, who was still standing there, shifting awkwardly, unsure if he should leave or stay. But I know him. Jason frowned. What? Keanu looked at the waiter, his expression softening. I know what it feels like to be ignored, to be treated like you're invisible, to have someone with more money look at you like you don't matter. The waiter's eyes darted up, meeting Keanu's for the first time. There was something in them, recognition, gratitude. Keanu turned back to Jason. And I know one more thing. He leaned in slightly. The way you treat people when you think they can't do anything for you, that's who you really are. Jason swallowed. His usual arrogance wavered. For the first time in his life, he felt something unfamiliar. Shame. The room remained silent, waiting to see what the spoiled rich kid would do next. His father sighed, rubbing his temples. This is ridiculous. He tossed his napkin on the table. Jason, let's go. Jason hesitated, his mind spinning. Then, without a word, he stood up. But instead of following his father, he turned toward the waiter. He swallowed, forcing the words out. I'm sorry. Gasps rippled through the restaurant. His father's head snapped up. Jason! But Jason ignored him. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Taking out a few $100 bills, he placed them gently on the waiter's tray. For your uniform, he muttered. The waiter hesitated, looking at Keanu, who gave him a small nod. With a weak smile, the waiter accepted the money. Jason took a deep breath, then turned back to Keanu. I guess. Luck isn't everything, huh? Keanu smiled. It's what you do with it. Jason gave a small nod and walked past his stunned father, heading for the exit. The businessman, fuming, turned to Keanu. You think you've taught him something? Keanu shrugged. I think life will. And with that, he picked up his coffee, took a slow sip, and went back to his meal, while the entire restaurant silently realized they had just witnessed something far greater than a simple dinner. The restaurant remained eerily quiet, even after Jason and his father walked out. Conversations had stopped, forks hung mid-air, and waiters stood frozen, processing what had just happened. Keanu calmly took another sip of his coffee, as if nothing unusual had occurred. The waiter, still gripping the money Jason had left, looked at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. I don't know what to say." Keanu smiled. "You don't have to say anything. Just don't let people like that define your worth." The waiter nodded slowly, his shoulders relaxing for the first time that night. "Thank you. Not just for me, but for all of us." A soft murmur spread through the restaurant. A woman sitting nearby, who had witnessed everything, finally spoke up. "You handled that beautifully." A man at another table shook his head in admiration. "That kid needed to hear it from someone like you." Keanu chuckled, setting his cup down. "I'm just a guy having dinner." The restaurant manager, who had been watching from a distance, finally stepped forward, looking both nervous and grateful. "Mr. Reeves, I just want to say, that was incredible. And honestly, your meal is on the house." Keanu held up a hand. "I appreciate it, but I'd rather pay for my food." He pulled out his wallet and placed a few $100 bills on the table. Then, turning to the waiter, he added, "And give this to the staff. They deserve it." The waiter's eyes widened again. "Sir, this is too much." Keanu simply shook his head. "Not at all. I know what it's like to struggle." He stood up, adjusting his jacket. "And I know what it's like when someone believes in you." As he made his way toward the exit, the restaurant erupted in soft applause. It wasn't just for a Hollywood star. It was for the man who had reminded them all of something simple, yet profound. Kindness costs nothing, but its impact is priceless. Outside, the night air was crisp. Keanu stepped onto the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, when he spotted Jason standing a few feet away. The boy wasn't with his father anymore. He was just standing there, staring at the pavement, lost in thought. Keanu stopped beside him. "You all right?" Jason hesitated before nodding. "I think so." He took a deep breath. "I never really thought about any of that before. He sighed, struggling for words. "I was just being stupid." Keanu tilted his head. "We all are sometimes." Jason turned to him, curiosity flickering in his eyes. How did you change?" Keanu smiled faintly. "I lost people. I lost things. And I realized the only thing that really matters is how you treat others." He patted Jason's shoulder. "It's never too late to be better." Jason swallowed, nodding. "I think I want to try." Keanu gave him a small nod before stepping toward his motorcycle parked by the curb. As he swung his leg over, Jason called out, "Hey, Mr. Reeves?" Keanu glanced back. Jason managed a small, sincere smile. "Thanks." Keanu revved the engine, giving him a knowing look. "Don't thank me. Prove it." And with that, he rode off into the night, leaving behind a lesson Jason would never forget.